What is going on, Sabres fans, and welcome to another episode of the Sabres Spotlight podcast where we shine a light on all things Sabres hockey. Ryan, what's going on?
A lot's going on, man. Uh, I was gonna give a shout out real quick to my wife. Um, after over 326 days, she went back to work after having Quinn, who is gonna be 11 months old now, in October. So he's a big, meaty guy, big old dude. He's like the biggest baby in the world. And she has been, at home with him every day over the last year. Uh, and now that she's ready to go back to work, our lives are really going to change a little bit with like the morning routine and all that, and picking them up and dropping them off to like people that are watching him and stuff. But I will say, I never truly understood how hard it was to just be alone with him like all day. And now that I've been on vacation for 2 weeks and she went back, it's only been a couple days, and I'm like, it's like 10 in the morning, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I'm like, what do we even do with this kid? So I'm like taking him places. We're going on walks. I'm like, and it's so funny because Lexi would tell me that she was so bored. There's nothing else they could possibly do in the house, and I'm like, I don't know, just watch a movie. And oh my God, now I understand why she wanted to kill me. Because holy shit, it is so boring at home with an 11-month-old. You can only do so much.
Oh, dude, that is hilarious. That is so funny. You will discover things in your neighborhood now that you're out walking them all the time that you didn't even know, and you've been there for what, like 7 or 8 years, and you're like,
Oh
holy
yeah,
shit, this has been here the whole time.
yeah, it's happened. I've been on more walks in the last this week than I have been like in my entire life.
Oh, it's so funny. My neighbors all laugh at me because well, Riley's bigger now, so she'll be on like
Yeah,
her
yeah.
bike or her scooter or something. Owen's in his car. I got the dog Bell around the waist, and I'm just like, I'm just got all three of them. And yeah, it's hilarious. But it is funny. Like, yeah, you're just trying to fill the gaps, especially when they're young. But that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's a lot of fun. And yeah, shout out to Lexi for being back to work there. Speaking
Yeah, what a
about
beast.
being back to work, we're almost back to work here on the hockey season.
Well,
You
dude,
know,
what's
we
up
got
with you?
25 days left. Oh, dude, not much, not much. Same old, just working, putting in some massive work on this show doc, and we have a boy, oh boy, do we have a show prep for tonight. It's been a few weeks or a few shows since we had a beefy boy like this, stocked up. But I think just recording last time for the first time in whatever it was, like a handful of weeks, and then getting closer to, well, football first, and then hockey. Just feeling like sports are coming back. I was just amped up, and I was just putting in work on the keys, and so we were just. This show doc's been good, but nothing. I mean, I was off today, so I was off with the kids. I went to the zoo. We had a lot of fun there. Got a sweet picture of the lion. Was just sleeping like right next to the window, so he was pretty cool. Had some slushies. Oh my god, slushies are they're just so good. The kids always get slushies, and I always end up drinking all of them. But no, things have been good, man. Just chilling, waiting for the sports to come back.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited.
All right, so we got to start off going around the league. We haven't been around the league in a while. There hasn't been much going on, but there's a few things that we can kind of touch on here that were some talking points over the offseason. Marco Rossi was like the big thing that was, I mean, all the big free agents, of course, were linked in quotes, somewhat to the Sabres because everyone they were one of the teams, looking to make moves. And those were all of our pipe dreams. Rossi got just a modest deal with the Wild. Seems like they kind of just like agreed to do like a little bridge thing and then see what happens from there. But he extends in Minnesota, 3 years, 15 million. Victor Olofsson signs a 1 year deal. He's going to Colorado now, so he's taking up the suitcase life, the nomad life, and just kind of making his circuits around the NHL here. And then we got some Matthew Kachuk news, which we can elaborate on in a second. But anything here you want to kind of start off with first, or you have any thoughts on anything specific here?
It's so funny because I was taking a look at Victor Olofsson's, his charts over the last year. And I don't know what kind of role Vegas had him in, but his defensive numbers are like so insane. Like they're actually, it's wild. It's like completely opposite of what you think Olofsson was. So I don't know what what kind of like what they were cooking in Vegas to get him to play the way he was playing, or like charts. I love looking at like analytics and stuff, but like you still gotta watch. So I'm not sure how like correlative that truly was to Olafson's game in Vegas. But it looks like Colorado picked up a defensive stalwart on a 1 year deal. And then on Rossi, dude, Sabres fans for some reason are obsessed with Marco Rossi. I think it's because we took Jack Quinn before Rossi got drafted to the Wild, and it was largely said that like Rossi was the better prospect between the two because they played on the same line and all that kind of thing. But I love Rossi as a player. He's small, and but I also at the same time don't really get the hype. And this 3 year deal for 5 million per is like you said a modest bridge deal. Clearly, the Wild don't actually want him, and he played under
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes a game in the playoffs. So there's red flags all over this player. I don't understand the obsession. Um, but hey, we'll see where he goes because I don't think he'll be a Minnesota Wild in 6 months' time.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, it's certainly a deal where if they wanted to move at any time, they could. Because I mean, it's not like it's a huge number, and if it was something where the two sides weren't necessarily over the top about getting a deal done and things go sour, then they'll just look to move that, whether it's this year or next year, whatever. But uh, moving on to some Team USA news, we'll get into that more on the Sabres side of things when we talk Sabres in a little bit. But Matthew Tkachuk is expected to miss the first 2 to 3 months of the season after undergoing a surgery this month, and this was from where everyone's assuming from a torn adductor muscle and a sports hernia that he sustained during the Four Nations face-off. So he did, if you recall, miss the final 25 games of last season, but he did come back for the playoffs, and he still had a heck of a playoff run. He had 23 points in 23 games played as they went on their way to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. But the Team USA Hockey has already said that they expect him to be back in time for the Olympics, which makes sense for this timeline, given that the Olympics will be in February. So you would anticipate that he'll be back, and he's one of the only, I think, whatever they announced, like 4 players, I think 4 or 5 players, and he's one of them. So they came out and said they expect him to be ready and things, but a little bit of a hit to the Panthers lineup, at least to start the season initially. Any thoughts on the Kachuk news here? Just kind of interesting and surprising for me.
How in the world did he go out have this injury and still put up a point a game in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's absolutely insane. I genuinely don't. These hockey players are like absolute warriors, man. Just like insane what they go through. And the Florida Panthers, man, you would think that like, oh my God, they're gonna miss Matthew Tkachuk for the first, until Christmas possibly. It really doesn't matter. That's just a machine of an organization. Like
It doesn't
they'll
matter.
probably be first in the they'll probably be first in the Atlantic come Christmas, and it'll be fine. And then he comes back, and they'll just cruise to the playoffs. So hopefully he rests up and gets that going because despite Florida being a team that I'm just kind of sick of, he's still a fun player.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And they know they want to be their strongest at the end of the season. I mean, it's their so it's if he has to miss the beginning of the season, then it's for them it's no big deal. They're going to be there at the end of the season, especially when you see where the Atlantic Division is kind of going, and maybe some teams trending downwards. I'm kind of wondering if they might run away with the division a little bit this year, but we'll talk about that more in coming episodes. But let's switch over to the Sabres news, and we've
Right.
had I guess it's countdown season for the NHL, because I feel like we've had nothing but NHL Network, pumping out these countdowns. But let's start with Dahlin, ranked number 7 in the NHL as far as defenseman goes, behind number 1 Cal McCarr, Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski, Miro Heiskanen, Victor Hedman, Josh Morrissey, and then Rasmus Dahlin comes in ranked number 7 per this recent NHL Network release. So what do you think about where he slots in here? And do you think he is ranked appropriately, or would you change up where he's kind of slotted in at the moment?
I think Darlene, if he was on any other team that didn't miss the playoffs for like the last forever, he would be largely considered the number 1 or number 2 defenseman in hockey. This list has him criminally underrated. He should be, I can make an argument for Hughes. Makar, lately Makar this year, kind of running on reputation a little bit. Werenski has had one amazing year, and that was this year. Heiskanen, I would probably put him
Right.
above Werenski. Hedman doesn't belong on this list anymore. And, I like Josh Morrissey, but he's not better than Rasmus Dahlin, I can tell you that much. And there's a guy missing on this list. Where was Adam Fox ranked? Do you know?
I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe ninth.
Because, like, he should be in the top 5. Like, Adam Fox is incredible. I don't know. This list, Dahlin is just going to be underrated until we get eyes on him in the playoffs.
Yeah, we can check on. I'm trying to remember offhand where where he was ranked. I want to say that they had Adam Fox ranked ninth, but I'm in agreement with you. I mean, it's tough because when everything gets kind of tampered down a little bit, when you're playing with the Sabres and kind of the black eye that they are, on the league. I think everyone knows, but the fact that everyone still knows that he's so elite speaks to the caliber of player he is. And you could see that on the ice. I mean, even, during the handful of national games that they get when a lot of eyes really get to see him play a little bit more, but they're not playing in these big, games down the stretch that really mean a lot. And aside from people really seeing him play in similar to Tage, in like the international events and like the Four Nations and things like that, where he also played really good, he's not getting the exposure that a lot of these other players are having as well. But you look at, the statistics as far as like not just the point totals, because the point totals are there, and he's going to the All-Star games, and he's got one of the hardest shots, and he's competing in all the skills. He's doing these things that these other guys are doing from a notoriety standpoint. But you look at just the toughness of his game, how is kind of rounded out the defensive side. He's got the C on his jersey now, and he's a clear captain of the team. The amount of minutes that he plays, like game in and game out, it's just he's one of the top guys out there. And I'm looking to see. Oh, Adam Fox is actually ranked 16 on this list here.
Oh my God.
The last of the top 10 was Jacob Slavin, Roman Yoshi, and Evan Bouchard. But anyway, just going back to Dahlin, I mean, there's no doubting the caliber of player that he is, and I wonder if he's even reached his peak yet. I mean, like if it sounds crazy to say that, but he's just so talented, and he's still young. He's got I don't know his exact age, but he's probably 27, right? 26, 27. And so he's right in the prime of his career. I mean, if the Sabres really start putting better pieces around this organization and just start playing better as a team, I mean, you could even see him level up even more, which is kind of a crazy thought to think about.
Darlene's 25. So even younger than you thought.
Yeah, so yeah, I
I
figured he
agree,
was
though.
somewhat on the
I
younger
love
end.
him. I love him so much.
All right, then let's move on to the other last little bit of news here before we go into some previews of the season. Tage Thompson, Alec Tuck among the 44 players invited to attend the Olympic orientation camp. This will be held. Actually, it just finished. So it was August 26th, August 27th. 6 players, as I mentioned earlier, are already locked into the roster. That's Eichel, Matthews, the Kachuk brothers, Charlie McAvoy, and Quinn Hughes. So you have basically 38 other players competing for 19 spots, and Tage Thompson and Alec Tuck are among those players. So what do you think about the news here? And these two guys seemingly having a chance to compete for a spot. Do you think Tage is like a lock to make it, and Tuck's competing? Where do you feel like they stand right now?
Yeah, Tage should be a lock for sure. I mean, it's a joke that he wasn't on the last roster, but Tuck, theoretically, he could make the team. I like that he's there at the camp. Well, it wasn't a camp, it was just like a little meeting, media kind of thing, but he can make it for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. It just depends on like how they build this thing out. These rosters are like, especially when you get to powerhouses like USA and Canada, it's kind of one of those things where it's like there's so much talent around these rosters. So are you going for roster building, and like putting lines together necessarily, or are you just taking like the most talented players and kind of seeing how it goes from there? Because would Alex Tuck be one of those top guys as far as like talent alone? Maybe not. Maybe. I mean, he's a heck of a player. I don't want to shortchange him, but if he's not, do they appreciate more of just his ability to be such a strong two-way player and just a heady player, and his speed and things like that? So there's different avenues that he could make the roster. I agree with you. I think Tage is probably a lock as well, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think you gotta take some element of like the Tuck would probably be like your primary penalty killer if they were to take him and play on the third or fourth line, which like in an international tournament that's fantastic for his archetype of player. I feel like you can use his speed and kind of like like Dylan Larkin last year, used his speed on the fourth line and he was killing penalties. So that'd be a lot of fun to see him make the team as well.
Are there any, and you would know this answer better than me, but are there any like up and coming like American goaltenders? You have Hellebuck and Ottinger. Those are kind of the big, two guys. But do they have anybody there who could be competing on that end of things?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. And I know this is going to be such bad podcasting, but I'm going to look it up.
Well, I mean, I'm putting you on the spot anyway, so I'm just trying to go run through teams real quick in my head, and
Uh,
I just kind of thought about that position and
Demko.
how fun it was last year. Okay. I mean, he
Yeah,
he had a down year last year, but a couple years ago he was great with Vancouver.
he did, but those are the three for sure. And then, you have Charlie Lindgren in there. So,
Okay, yeah, it was. I just remember how fun it was last year with the Jets fans and then the Stars fans. Just giving each other's goaltender shit, and I was like, oh, are there any other goaltenders that could come into play here? But it seems like those two will probably be the guys. But good luck to them. We'll see how the season goes for them, and hopefully the Sabres are doing what we want them to do this year, because if they are, then that's going to increase these guys' chances to have a good shot at making that Olympic roster. And then while the NHL is on break for a couple weeks there in February, we'll still be able to watch some of our boys playing in some international hockey. So that would be fun. But we're going to move into what the Sabres need to improve upon this season. We did a show kind of similar to this last year. I think that last year it might have been just a solo show that I did, kind of talking about how the Sabres make the playoffs this year. This is kind of like a little mini, thing there, but there will be nothing, I guess,
hmm
groundbreaking here, but things that we want to kind of talk about as the season nears a little bit. I think the number one, not necessarily question, but aspect of things that we need to see improve this year is the goaltending. The Sabres were relying on UPL to be the guy last season after that hot end to the 2024 season. And he got the new contract, and there was a little bit of question marks around that. Is he the guy? He played a lot of games last year, and he was not the guy that he was before. So last season, UPL was a minus 8.6 goal saved above expected in all situations. And he finished this season with a 3.2 goals against average and an 887 save percentage, just for comparison to the previous year where he gave up 2.57 goals a game and had a 910 save percentage. So where do we where do you think about, or what are your thoughts about the goaltending coming in to this season, and this being an area that the Sabres definitely need to improve upon? Do you think they have a chance to do so?
Yeah, because we've seen, UPL play some good hockey. Like we've seen it. There are times when he's just like absolutely brutal, but there was that stretch that gave us so much hope that we found our number one goalie. So if he could even play, 70% of that, I think we're in for some good goaltending. And I don't know what it is, but Alex Lyon just gives me good vibes. He's just a good backup. He'll come in, he'll do a job. If UPL is struggling, I feel like he can start multiple games in a row and, we're not sinking.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of this season because last year, as good as Reimer did down the stretch, he wasn't really good during the season, like when he was called upon, except for that like little hot stretch at the end of the year. So it was kind of always on UPL night in and night out to be that guy. And it's difficult because does having Alex Lyon there make UPL a better goalie? I don't think so, but he is at least more competition for this season and better competition than we had last year with James Reimer. And UPL has kind of showed in the past that having that competition is good for him. It's it's tough because the Sabres were, by all accounts, a high scoring team last year. Like we scored a lot of goals again last season, and we did the season before. So like this team can score. The problem has always been goaltending and defense. And as bad as the Sabres were on D last year and the amount of mistakes they made, the struggles of UPL are reflected in that minus 8.6 goal saved above expected. So you could say that, oh well, UPL didn't play great last year, but look at the defense that was in front of him. Like sure, I guess, but he was also not good, and there was many games last season where we were all saying, after this game he should have had this one or he should have had these two. Like that happened last season, so he has to definitely step it up this next season. If and maybe he'll be more adjusted to playing more games. But I don't know if you have any more thoughts here before we move on.
No, I totally agree. And, I don't know if I'm necessarily optimistic, but I'm just like hopeful that it could be a little different this year.
Do you think he is? So looking at the numbers here, like from 2023, 2.57 goals against, a 910 save, and then 2024 last season where he was the 3.2, the 887. Do you think he's closer to the 2.5? Do you think he's closer to the 3.2, or do you think he's just like kind of directly in the middle there?
I really truly think it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough because it's a function of, that's not necessarily just a goalie stat. Like that's a function of the whole team. I get that, but it's an area that we need to improve on, and I'm sure UPL would tell you the same thing. And he seems motivated to do it this year. And I'm with you on Alex Lyon. I think that was actually a good signing by Kevin Adams this offseason. Any thoughts on Devin Levi, real quick, before we get into special teams?
No, I don't, because I don't want to slander the man.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, he'll
No,
be in
but I
Rochester.
don't know. I think he'll just play in Rochester for another year. Hopefully he cooks and proves me wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think he can even. I mean, if he comes out hot in preseason and looks like really good, I wonder if they'll still just start him in Rochester. But I guess we'll just see. We don't have to spend too much time there. Let's move into the power play because this was a big thing last season and special teams in general. The as bad as the power play felt, the penalty kill was pretty much almost just as bad, which you maybe didn't feel as much during the season because it doesn't hurt as much, I guess, as a failed power play attempt, if that makes any sense. But the power play was 24th in the NHL at 18.8%. Penalty kill was 23rd at 76.3%. Neither one of those numbers are should be acceptable, nor good enough if they're going to make the jump that they want to this season. So, two questions here. Do you think Seth Appert is going to do a better job in season 2 on the power play? And as far as the penalty kill is concerned, what do you think needs to change there? Is it as simple as just the Sabres need to stop taking as many dumb penalties?
I don't even know if they were taking dumb penalties. I feel like they were penalized at like a normal rate besides, every so often Dowling would get a dumb penalty or, Zach Benson would get a phantom penalty because for some reason he just gets penalties called on him like it's his job. But I don't necessarily think it's like the taking penalties thing is an issue. I just think they were so bad at like defensive awareness in front of goal, or UPL lets in a shot that he shouldn't. I don't really know what they can do to change things because they didn't change any of the assistant coaches. So like, how can you do the same thing over and over again and just expect different results?
Will Kesselring be on the PK? Is he a penalty killer?
I mean, he's big and he's going to use his size and reach, but yeah, sure. But Owen Power is also like a good penalty killer. Like it's we got like the pieces to do it. The forwards theoretically are good at penalty killing. It's just like when you put out like he's not here anymore, but when you're throwing out Connor Clifton and Matthias Samuelsson to kill penalties, it's resulting in goals more often than not. And it's like, well, all right, we're gonna throw Matthias Samuelsson out there again to kill penalties this year, and it's like you got to show me you can do it because you couldn't do it last year or the year before.
Yeah, yeah. As far as the kill goes, I think they have a few like bona fide penalty killers in like Alex Tuck and Jordan Greenway, who is good at using his size. And you got Ryan McLeod. I mean, hell, even Zach Benson, showed good penalty killing last season. So I think you have the pieces to at least get one really good kill team together, and then kind of figure out some other guys that can kind of mix in there. So, but I will push back on like the dumb penalties a little bit. There was a lot of bad penalties last year that I remember, and that's every team takes penalties, So it's just, but I think that's just a function of being a young team and just maybe learning Lindy's system a little bit. And I don't know, there was definitely a lot of penalties last year, so being penalized less often will help, but having things cleaned up a little bit and having a little bit more of a sense of organization on that can help. Although Tuck was a shorthanded god last season, so if we can get him out there to score some more shorties, I would take that. How about the power play?
Dude, it's the same thing. Like Seth Appert's back in year two, or yeah, it's year two of the power play. Had a dog shit power play in Rochester,
Yep.
and we got the same players back. So like, what is truly going to change?
I don't know. That's his job, so we'll see. But I know one thing is for sure: if there will be a good amount of pressure on those first 10 games to see some progress there, or you could get there's going to be a lot of questions about Seth Appert and the power play early on if it's still looking like it was last season, because there's really not a an excuse for it with the talent that they have. I mean, they have enough guys to put out a solid power play. It's not going to be elite, like your Colorados, like your Dallas is, the Jersey Devils. It's not going to be up there with the best of the best, but it should run, pretty smoothly. And and I think I was listening to After the Whistle, and they were making a good point about Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals, about like, Ovechkin and for example, like Tage on the power play. They were saying like Tage has the shot. He's not necessarily like a playmaker on the power play, but they can't expect him to do that. Like Ovechkin's done the same thing for 1,000 goals. He's just stood there, and he hasn't needed to do any other thing because they've engineered their power plays in ways that he can do that, and they can run different set plays, or they can have different guys to move the puck. And I think the Sabres have those pieces as well. They just got to kind of put it together. Paterka getting shipped out is good, I think, because I think he hurt us on the power play. But there'll definitely be some speculation on if Appert is the guy if it starts slow this season.
for sure. But he won't get fired because we don't do that here.
Yeah, you're right about that. His job is is definitely safe. If we fire people, we just promote them. Like Kevin Adams, when he eventually gets fired one day, he's just gonna he doesn't get fired. He just gets a better job theoretically. But all right, last couple things here is they got to play better on the road. The Sabres actually figured it out at home last season, which, interestingly enough, when I did this show a year ago, one of the things that I talked about was the need for them to play better at home going into this season. And they actually, because the year before they were really bad at KeyBank. And last year they were good at a 23-15-3 record at home, but the road is where they got hammered 13-24-4 on the road, which was a minus 30 goal differential. So this was kind of a complete 180 from the year prior, when they actually were really good on the road. In 2020, in that 2023-24 season, we were kind of happy when the Sabres were going on the road, because it just seemed like they could get away from the arena and they played better. And last season, they actually figured it out at home. So I think that's a good first step, but they got to figure out how to do better on the road. And then I want to talk a little bit more here about the division, because everyone knows that these division games, these 4 point games, are huge. And I want to just lay out some numbers, because these won't be surprising, but I think that when I went through this exercise and like did all these calculations, it was a little bit surprising to see that the Sabres in Atlantic Division games last season had a 10-13-3 record, which is 23 out of a total of 52 points for a 442 point percentage. And if you look at the Metro, which I put in here because these are, of course, teams that we're going to be competing with along, or competing along for that wild card 2 spot, or wild card 1. I'm putting us in that tier right now. Um, a little bit better, a little bit better, but not much. 11-12-1 against the Metro, which was good for a 479 point percentage. So if you do the math there, in these 4 point games last season, the Sabres were 21-25-4, which is only a 46, which is only 46 points out of a possible 100, or a 460 point percentage. That's just not going to get it done in the games that mean the most. This is where you have to be at your best.
Dude, I totally agree. Like, not even going 500 in those 4 point games is abysmal, and is largely a reason why we missed the playoffs. You just got to be better for those games. I mean, it's weird. I feel like the Sabres will, once a year, but go out west and knock out like 6 of 6 on a Western Conference trip, and then come home and play at home against our division, and we'll get 1 point from 3 games. And it's like, dude, like that's not how you gain ground on your division rivals. Like you can
No.
gain points where they don't matter, but if you're losing points, like conceding games to these other teams, like every point matters in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and what's crazy if you look at this, in those 10 wins against the Atlantic Division, 3 of them were against Boston and 4 were against Ottawa. So 7 of your 10 wins against your division rivals, these teams that were against 2 teams. So you had collectively 3 wins against Toronto, Tampa Bay, Florida, Montreal, and Detroit. Against those 5 teams last season, you had 3 wins. That's just not going to get it done. 0-3 against the Maple Leafs, 1-2 against Tampa Bay, 1-2-1 against Florida, 0-3-1 versus Montreal, and 1-2-1 against Detroit last season. You want to talk about teams that you need to compete better against. I mean, these teams are you have to do better against other divisions, and you can't just beat up a couple teams because Boston was nothing last year. Getting those points against Boston meant nothing. They were in the bottom, and Ottawa was so far ahead of us last season. It didn't even matter that we stole those 8 points from them. It's nice, and maybe that's a good thing for this season, because I don't necessarily think we're far behind Ottawa if we are at all, so maybe you can do that again. But you have to start doing better against these other teams. It's just not going to be good enough.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so let's move into some of these other teams. We're going to start just doing some division breakdowns here. Starting today, we'll do, depending on the frequency of the episodes. Hopefully, we can get like 2 in an episode. But if it's a couple weeks that we have in between shows, then we might do a few. But we'll try and get like little mini previews out for each of the teams. We're going to start here with the Boston Bruins. Boston Bruins have a first-time NHL head coach. Did you know Marco Sturm? Did you realize this? He's the NHL's first German head coach.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. It's so
Yeah,
funny to
that's pretty
see.
cool.
He was a good player in his day. It's so funny to think about him. Like Germany as a country could theoretically be a hockey power, but since they're so caught up in soccer, I don't think they ever will be because that is like maybe like the number one soccer nation, always threatening for the World Cup, always threatening for the Euros. But Marco Sturm was like one of the first really, 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 really good, German hockey players, and kind of paved the way for like your JJ Peterkas and your Leon Draisaitl's. So it is cool to see him uh, become the first German head coach. And I think Marco Sturm is a great hire. Former Bruin. The Bruins love doing this. Well, kind of like a hockey thing, bringing back former people. But former Bruin. He was in the Joe Thornton trade, and it's just like I like the hire for them, unfortunately, but I still think their roster is terrible. So I don't think it really will matter much for this season.
Yes. So the roster is what it is. They finished 8th in the Atlantic Division last season. The only team to finish actually below the Sabres in the division, 3 points behind the Sabres, and so there you go. I guess without those wins against Boston, they very easily could have been, ahead of us. So it goes to show you how important those points are. But it was actually the first time Buffalo finished above Boston in the standings since, get this, 2009, 2010. 15 years.
And they still knocked us out of the playoffs that year.
That is crazy. When I went to look up that stat, because I was just like, you know what, it's probably been forever since they finished below us, and I'm just like going back year by year. I'm like, holy shit, when am I going to get to the year where we actually finished ahead of them? I figured it was around then, just with the drought and things. I figured it kind of matched up, timeline wise, but it was just like kind of funny going back and doing it. So Boston moved on from Brad Marchand last year in the trade with Florida. He moves on and gets a Stanley Cup like everyone does when they go to Florida. Shout out Kyle Okposo and that sweet 6th round pick that we got now. But Tanner Jeannot signs here a 5-year deal worth 3.4 million AAV. Their projected top 6 forwards: Morgan Geekie, Elias Lindholm, David Pasternak, and Pavel Zacha, Casey Middlestat, and Victor Arvidsson. Projected top 4 defensemen: Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, and then Nikita Zadorov and Henry Jokiharju. Anything there about the lineup?
I mean, that top six and top four is like besides McAvoy and Lindholm, and Zadorov is good on his day, but he's more of a third pair. But I don't know, dude. Pasternak's gonna have
Yeah.
to carry them again. And Geeky too. Geeky kind of broke out last year a little bit. Like he's a good player. I think
Yeah,
they
he
also
did. He
paid him
did.
this year. Did they pay? I think they paid him this year, like a long-term deal. So
Yeah, he may have.
he's a good player. So, but they got pieces, but below those 10 guys, it's not pretty.
Yeah, and they've basically come out and said that they're not like rebuilding. They're doing the retool. So they know that they're going to be, maybe not towards the top, but they're not looking to totally blow things up. But you can tell by some of the moves that they made last year that they are starting to kind of take a look at, maybe the farm system a little bit more and moving out some contracts with what they can. They have about $2 million in cap space for the upcoming 2025 season. I think the big question for them this year will be, will they get enough scoring outside of that top line? And of course, will Jeremy Swayman bounce back? Swayman was 29 or 22, 29 and 7 last year. He with a 3.12 goals against, that was 42nd in the NHL, an 892 save percentage, which was 42nd in the NHL, and he had 4 shutouts, which is actually tied for 7th in the NHL. So he still showed the ability with those 4 shutouts to flash the leather, be a high caliber goaltender. I don't necessarily think after one down season people are doubting that. There was the whole, ugly offseason, contract negotiations, arbitration, all that nonsense, which puts a lot of pressure on him to start the season, and the team wasn't very good as well. But two questions to kind of finish up here on the Boston Bruins. Do you think Swayman will bounce back after the season last year? And do you think the Sabres are clearly ahead of this team? Like, is this a team that the Sabres should most definitely finish ahead of next season?
Okay, I have a question first. When we were talking about American goalies, did we include Jeremy Swayman earlier?
Nope.
Yeah, well, we should include him because I think he's really, really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, okay.
I think he's bounces back. But will the Sabres finish ahead of them? Should they? Uh, yes, I think like pretty clearly. Will they? I don't know, man. It's the Buffalo Sabres. That's my answer.
So I gotta look up real quick, and I'll have it in a second. I put in the FanDuel projected over under for the Boston Bruins going into this next season. They have them at 79.5, so they're projecting 3 more points than last season, which makes sense. Um, I believe that the and I'll have this in 1 second, but I believe the Sabres are at 80.5. So with that number, they're the sports books and Vegas is basically saying that these two are pretty much the same. And I don't know if that's the case. I see us a little bit higher than that specifically is saying. But the odds makers are saying that these two teams are pretty identical.
That's insane to me. I don't think they're identical. That's crazy. But like I said, we got an 85 point ass team on our hands. So who knows? 6 points isn't all that much.
Yeah, Boston Bruins are at. Oh, you know what? Actually, it looks like they might have just adjusted it. 76.5 points for the
Oh
Boston
my goodness.
Bruins. So 76.5. So they have them at pretty much at where they were last season, and the Sabres are at 80.5. So they got the Sabres 4 points ahead of Boston right now as far as that goes.
Oh, dude, you know what's gonna make me sick? If Boston really does bottom out this year and they get Gavin McKenna.
Well, the betting favorite for that right now is the you have a guess who the betting favorite right now is to for the
Chicago?
worst record? Yeah, Chicago, San Jose, and then Boston
Yep, see,
as
they're right
far
in
as
there.
finishing
They're
last.
they're right
They're right
they're
in
right
there.
in
Yeah,
there.
Chicago's plus 1,800, San Jose plus 1,300, and then they got Boston at plus 550. The Sabres are at plus 330,
Oh my.
which is kind of crazy, but because I think
That is
there's a
so
lot of
sad.
yeah,
That is
I think there's a lot of
so
potential on the Sabres
fucking
this season.
sad. That is so fucking sad, and it makes me so sick.
So the games against Boston this upcoming season, October 11th, October 30th, a couple days after Christmas on the 27th, and then March 25th. So I don't think these are going to necessarily be meaningful games at all, other than, again, being those kind of divisional games, but you're not really thinking Boston's going to be a team you're competing with this year. So it's just nice to kind of beat Boston if we can. But we do have 4 games against them, so a couple early on and then a couple later. So we'll see what the Sabres can do. I'll give quick answers to those questions before we move on to Detroit. I think Swayman will bounce back this season. And the goaltender position, as we know, it's just weird. Sometimes you look great, sometimes you suck, and you can have years where you're just bad and you don't see the puck. That's kind of what gives me some hope for UPL this season, having a bounce back as well. I do think we're ahead of Boston, and I think we'll finish ahead of Boston this season as well. But let's move into Detroit. The Red Wings
Hey,
hired the coach I
I have
wanted
some
for the
breaking news.
Sabres last season. All right, let's hear it.
It's for a team that you support and I don't support. Uh,
So
Tottenham
we're
Hotspur
shifting
has
gears.
agreed. Tottenham Hotspur, your beloved soccer team that I despise, has agreed a deal for midfielder Xavi Simons, who is one of the best under 20 midfielders in soccer.
There we go. There we go. And I asked you if the Spurs were going to be good this year, and you said yes. And now they're bringing in some more firepower.
Yeah, dude, he's really good. Like that's a really, really good signing. He's so fun.
When's the first North London derby?
Oh man, I don't know actually. I kind of want to know now because we should hang out for it.
So we'll have to get we'll
Let's see.
we'll have to get together for that. We'll get
Definitely.
over to Mez K for it. But
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so much fun, dude.
while
Yeah,
you're
because
while you're
all right,
looking that
first
up,
one,
I'll start the intro.
I
Oh,
got
go
it.
ahead.
First Northampton Derby is November 22nd.
Oh, right around my birthday. Let's go. That's a great time for a game.
Yeah, it should be. We should definitely hang out for it. But yeah, I don't want to. I just wanted to sideline a little soccer talk, shoehorn in there because that's a fun signing for you Spurs fans.
Does he start like right away? Like, how's that work in soccer?
Oh,
Like, is he coming in and it's like, is he playing next game?
I assume like so. I told you how Arsenal signed Eze last week. He didn't play on Saturday or Sunday, whenever they played Sunday, but he will definitely be playing on Sunday against Liverpool. So like they'll probably bring in Simons and he'll do his medical and get a little couple practices in, but he definitely won't be playing like this weekend. Maybe next weekend.
Okay, it's like any other sport then. Like, get him in
Yeah.
and let's get going. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then switching back to hockey here, that was great news. Go Spurs, go! But the Red Wings, although I have no problem with Lindy, I still am optimistic on what Lindy can do. I was hoping we could get Todd McClellan last season for our Buffalo Sabres, but they after their extensive coaching search decided on Lindy. So that's what we got, upcoming for this season again here. But the Red Wings finished sixth in the Atlantic Division last season, 86 points, and they have not made the playoffs since 2016. So they're somewhat in their own little bit of a playoff drought here, certainly by Detroit Red Wing standards, and there's some heat that's picking up on Stevie Eiserman to get this team over the edge. They've looked apart at times, and they have fallen off at the end of seasons. There was I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2 years ago though, where they had the heartbreaker where they like literally the final minutes of the season, right? Like they
Yeah.
ended up missing out by a point,
Yes,
and
because
it
I don't
was
remember which team was it that pulled their goalie to try to win the game instead of going to overtime. Might have been Washington, maybe. And because they got an empty netter scored on them
might have been.
and lost, it knocked out Detroit.
And in Detroit, they were in the shootout, right? Kane scored the shootout winner to like win their game. They were thinking that they were in, and then yeah, there was the whole like other game situation that didn't end up. So that was kind of a crazy thing. But as Sabres fans, you love to see it. But UFA signings this season, they renewed Patrick Kane for another year. JVR, James Van Riemdijk, Mason Appleton, and JBD, Buffalo Sabres legend JBD, going over to the Red Wings. I think he got like 800,000, 875 or whatever. But projected top six will be JVR, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, Marco Casper, and Patrick Kane. Top four defensemen: Ben Sherratt, Moritz Seider, Simone Evanson, and Albert Johansson. They do have about $12 in or 12 $12 million in cap space for the upcoming season. The big move they made as far as trades go in the offseason, they acquired John Gibson for Peter Mrazek, a 2026 fourth and a 2027 second. So making a move in the goal tending position, and the backup will be Cam Talbot. What are your thoughts on the roster here in Detroit heading into next season?
They're a weird team, dude. I don't like this build like whatsoever. Like I like a lot of their players. I think Marco Casper's really good. Raymond, obviously, Sider, Larkin, DeBrincat, all really good players. Edvinson, up and coming Swedish defenseman. The rest of it is just so odd. Like what build are they going for? Are they going for like young team to make the playoffs? Are they going like they've signed a lot of old guys to try to push them ahead, and
Yeah,
it just kind of has left them stagnant. Like they have a ton of cap space still. You said $12 million.
yeah, it's
What's
crazy.
yeah, what's the next move from Steve Yzerman? Like I don't understand. It's looking to me like Yzerman was the fraud in Tampa, and Julian Breezebaugh was the brains behind that operation because Yzerman's entire tenure in Detroit has just left me scratching my head.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they were maybe like in on some free agents and it just didn't pan out that they got any,
Well,
and
they
now
they
they're left
were.
with all this cap space.
I feel like Yzerman has been he's kind of almost been the king of being in on things and then completely striking out. Like they wanted Stamkos, and he said no to them. Um, who else? Who got traded last year from the Rangers? Defenseman. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. He murders people. Truba. Truba. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, okay,
tried
yeah, Trouba Train.
they tried getting Jacob Truba and that fell through. So like they've tried to get names there,
I went to
and
JT
he
Miller, but then you said defenseman.
and Miller too.
Oh,
I'm
but he's
sure they're
Vancouver anyways. See, now I'm getting my teams
I'm,
mixed up. He
I'm
went. He
sure that
went
they
to. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure that they're probably in on Miller too, just because that's what they are. They're in on everything,
Sure. Yeah,
but
yeah,
they don't get it done. It's
yeah.
it's just so odd. And then they bring in like you're gonna have James Van Riemsdyk on his old man legs trying to keep up with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond on the first line. Like I'm not sure that that's gonna happen. I'm sure they'll probably stick to Brinkett back up there with them. And then you're gonna have Marco Casper and his young spry self. He's gonna have to carry two old geezers on his back
Two
on a
geezers.
second on a second NHL line. Like I don't know about this roster. Like, dude, it's to me it's so bad. And I know they got 86 points, but I think this team is brutal.
FanDuel has them projected for 83 and a half. So they have them projected for more than the Sabres, next season by a few
Yeah, and
points, which
my
is
my whole I don't know, motto is the right word, but like my inner feelings about the Sabres is they have to prove it to me. Like I don't care about projections. I don't care about anything. They're bad and worse than these teams until they're not. So I it makes sense to
yeah,
me
for
that
sure.
Detroit is projected higher, even though I like our roster better.
Yeah, I mean they finished. I mean Detroit. I thought they were a mid roster last year, and they finished whatever it was. It's 8 points ahead of us, or 6 points ahead of us last season. So it is an interesting build, though. I wonder. I wonder if what the leash is like for Iserman. This year. I mean, he's been with the team for a while, and there hasn't been much progress as far as the chances for the playoffs goes. And you bring in Todd McClellan after you move on from Derek Lalonde last season. And granted, he won a Stanley Cup with Detroit in 2008, but you just look at the build of the roster, and you can't help but feel from Eiserman's end of things if it's kind of like it almost feels Kevin Adams esque, where it's like there's not necessarily a plan, or is he relying too much on veterans and kind of that older style of hockey and not building it enough into like the way the NHL kind of runs now. Like the problem with the Sabres is they've been too young. It's almost like this Detroit's kind of taking the opposite approach and like overvaluing the vets. You have to be in the middle. Like Florida is a perfect example of that.
Yep, I agree.
So we'll see what happens as far as the Red Wings go. We have 3 games against them this upcoming season: October 22nd, November 15th, and March 27th. So you have 2 games pretty early on in the season, 2 games in the first couple months where you can use that to, maybe pull yourself away from them a little bit and get yourself kind of, more towards that playoff spot by Thanksgiving. And if it comes down to it at the end of the season, that game in March could be a huge game. If we're both kind of in this playoff race, that March 27th game, who knows? It could be interesting if the Sabres are indeed playing some meaningful games come March time. Anything else that you want to talk about here for the Red Wings or the Sabres before we just kind of finish quickly up with some Amherst talk?
It would be nice to get all the points against the Red Wings. For some reason, I feel like Red Wings games are all exciting.
They're usually pretty good. You know that you already know what team I'm going to say we have the best games against. They're just always electric.
I don't know which team.
Oh, dude, it's the Minnesota Wild. Whenever we play the
Oh,
Minnesota Wild, those games are just crazy.
dude, you're so
I don't
right.
know what
It's
it is.
like, what is up with that? It's so like that when Minnesota and Buffalo are matching up, you're in for like a 6-5, a 7-5 game for some reason. It's so odd.
Yes.
You're so
Yeah, every
right, and I
time
feel
every
like
game against Minnesota is just crazy.
you're so right, and I feel like Detroit is kind of in that same vein. I remember that one year where we were just like fucking burying pucks in their net. Like Tage is like deking out the goalie in the crease and just like stuffing it home, like doing just crazy stuff against the Red Wings. That's like the image I get in my head when I picture the Detroit Red Wings. Is just Tage doing like insane stuff on it.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. We got like 42 games until the season starts, and or 42 nights, and hopefully that's 42 nights until we see like just a few Tage bombs just on the opening night against the Rangers, just stuffing it home early. But all right, let's get into the Amherst here. I don't have much other than they made. I want to put this in here because I kind of like this deal, and the Amerks are in an interesting position because they have I think they have a good coach in Leone, and it's going to be his second year with the team. And you're you're going to have Levi there for this season, hopefully, barring any injuries or again him just kind of coming out and playing just so hot that you can't send him back down.
I have
So
a
you're
question about
thinking,
Rochester
got a
goaltending
good
actually.
coach, got a good goalie. Okay, go ahead.
Is Ratzlaff backing up Levi? Is that who, he's done with the OHL?
I'd have to look that up. I don't know who they have in goal right now. You'd have to check the website and look at the roster as far as who the backup would be. Ratzlaff, I think, is the name that makes sense to me,
I think he's going to because on the
but
roster,
I'm not
it's
exactly sure.
On the roster, it's Michael Hauser, but I assume that he'll just be sent to the ECHL. So I think Jake Ratzlaff will
Right.
be your Amerks backup goalie in his first season in pro hockey.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see that. I mean, the Sabres they seemingly, which I think is good, and you mentioned that you like this strategy. Take a shot on a goalie every year, and who knows if when they get to the age where they're playing in the AHL, if they're still with the franchise or not. But you never know what guy's going to pan out. I mean, Levi's obviously the guy everyone wants, but if Ratzlaff plays good, and you just never know what's going to happen with goalies. So if that's going to
I'm
be the
also
two guys, then
curious.
that'll be cool to watch.
I'm also unsure, like, if it's not Ratzlaff, like the Sabres did sign Tobias Lehinen into his 3-year entry level deal in March. So I'm unsure if he's going to go back over to Finland or if they bring him over. Like the backup goalie situation in Rochester could be quite interesting for like prospect related.
Yeah, yeah, something we'll have to keep an eye on for sure. But they signed Red Savage, who is a 22-year
Amazing
old
name.
forward prospect. Yeah, just a great name. Really a great name. He played collegiate hockey at Miami of Ohio, then transferred to Michigan State, where he was the captain during his final season. He tallied 68 points across 125 collegiate games. He did have an injury in the last season. I believe he missed like half of the year in that final season. But he was originally drafted in the fourth round of the 2021 draft by Detroit. And so now the Amerks pick him up. And I kind of like this signing. I saw a couple features for him, and I've heard him give a couple interviews, and I don't know. I like him as a person, and I just like the vibes that he gives off. And wearing the C at Michigan State, I think, kind of shows the work ethic and the leadership that he has. And those are kind of the kids you want, just like grinders that are going to kind of put in the work. And he's obviously got something to prove here, trying to make it. He's 22, which isn't necessarily young for a prospect. So not that time is running out. He's still only 22, but someone that's going to want to come in and play good and make a difference right away to stick and see what he can do with this team. So I wanted to put it in here because I just kind of like the move.
Yeah, I like the move too. I'm trying to look at Michigan State's roster because they're low key like Sabres Midwest right now. Adam Nightingale is their coach. The brother of Sabres executive Jason Nightingale. Uh, Patrick Geary, Buffalo Sabres draft pick, local kid, plays for Michigan State. There's Maxime Sturbach, Buffalo Sabres draft pick, plays for Michigan State.
Yep.
I think there's another one. I'm not sure, but
The
no, I don't think
facilities
there
there
is
are
another.
nuts, man.
Dude, I know. Did you watch that episode of um what the hell they got like the Chicklets, collegiate thing they got going on? Dude,
Yes, the Chicklets
they
University or whatever it is.
it's insane. Like D1 athletes have the coolest like facilities ever.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, but I'm interested to see that we're going to be keeping a closer tab on the Amerks this season. And we kind of boycotted last season because Flow Hockey is just outrageous with their pricing. And it was $30 a month because they're trying to feed me all this other bullshit that I don't want to watch. Like, I'm not going to watch the 9 other hockey leagues that are out there. I'm just not going to. I just want to watch the Amerks. But I think I'm going to buy it this season, and we'll try and stay dialed into the Amerks during the season because I felt disconnected last year, and we got a lot of young talent, and I want to watch some of these kids play. So um, hopefully Red can make a splash down there, and he has a chance to be playing with some pretty good talent. So last thing I want to do, we're gonna add something in quick just to kind of at the end of the show here, and this is just my I'm calling this my random thought of the week. All right, so I thought about this earlier when I was doing laundry, and just something silly we can kind of talk about at the end here. But the point of this is just to kind of end the show on like a lighthearted note because we don't know how the season's going to go. If the Sabres are sucking again, we got to find the joy in something. So this is just everyday shit that you might encounter, and I want to know your thoughts on this. So earlier, I was doing laundry. I'm listening to my pods, and I realized that I am unfolding or I am turning out my socks and putting them in the washer so they are the way I would put them on my foot. In other words, I when I take them off, I peel my sock off so it's inside out or reverse.
Yep.
So I
Okay.
am then undoing it again to put it in the washer like the way I would put it on my feet. Do you do the same? Do you think that makes sense? In my head, I just do this naturally, and I think that's the proper way to clean it. But I'm interested to see what you think.
No, I think you're a complete psycho.
So
No,
you just
I
put the
don't.
socks in no matter what.
So, we have a laundry basket in our bedroom, and I just rip my socks off. Sometimes, okay, let me tell you. Sometimes I don't even turn them inside out. Sometimes I just take them off, and they form like on my foot. So some of my socks are probably inside out, and some of them aren't. And then I just throw them in my laundry bin, and then when I do laundry, I just
Like you're
get
wearing
a
them around throughout the day, potentially inside out.
no, no. I like if I'm wearing my socks normally, and I take them off, like I'm not like peeling them so that they're inside out off my body. I'm just like
Oh, you're pulling them
sliding
from
them
the
off.
toe.
Yeah, I'm just like sliding them off my foot. But I don't do that all the time. Sometimes I do peel it off my foot, like you do. So like, some of my socks are probably
Right.
being washed that way, and then some of them aren't. So I don't know if there was a proper way.
Okay.
Uh, but no,
So
I don't. I
you're
don't
just doing them
meticulously.
how they come.
Yeah, however it goes. And then I just take like a, giant, handful of laundry and just stick it in the washer. I'm not like paying attention to my sock
Okay.
form.
But see, that's how my brain works. I'm so OCD about everything. So yeah, I
I
see
mean,
that's actually a good
it
point. I never
makes,
thought about
but
that. In order for me to
go ahead, go ahead.
if I want to fix my problem, I need to just pull from the toe.
Yeah, but like thinking about it, how do you put your shirts in the laundry? Because when I take my shirt off, I take my shirt off like a Hawkeye would take his shirt off, where I would like cross both my arms on the bottom of the shirt and pull up.
I've never done that.
Are you serious? Okay, so that's how I like exclusively take my shirt off. So like
It seems so
when
hard to do it that way.
no, you just I could do it right now. You just rip up, but you just do that. And so when you put your shirts in, my shirts are inside out every time. But if I'm taking pants off, they're not inside out. So like or underwear, like that's not inside out. That's just like I slide them off my body. So I don't know, dude. Is it like better to wash your clothes inside out? Now you got me thinking.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Underwear for sure. I go inside out 100% because I want to get the inside clean. The spot that was
Yeah,
like close
on your
to
dick and
me.
crotch.
I want that to be like, I want that just like squeaky clean. So I go inside out for those because that my brain thinks it's getting cleaner that way. Shirts, I always fold my shirts like the right way to put them in, like they're not inside out. Although I do think that could be better because you always got like the deodorant stains on there. So I
Yep,
like part of me
yep.
thinks it could be better to be inside out. But I'd be curious if you're listening to the show and if you have thoughts here, let us know. Like, let us know on Twitter or send us messages. I feel like we'll get more feedback on this versus the Saber stuff. But
And like, what's funny? Like, we're not smelly people. I feel like you have a like this is a compliment to you. I think you have a good scent. So it's not like you're washing your clothes wrong and you smell bad. It's just like an odd thing to think about. I never really thought, it probably doesn't even matter because
yeah,
it's soaking in water anyway, and like water and soap. But now I'm gonna think about it a little bit more.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. That's the random thought of the week. I got one more just because I wanted to give us two just to kind of kick this
Okay.
segment off, and then we'll finish up after this. I feel like this one isn't necessarily as common as the laundry one, but this is something that I've always done or thought about. And I'm just curious if there's other people out there that either listen to the show or maybe you that think about the same thing. All right. So here is my random thought. When you're going to the bathroom and specifically a deuce, are
Okay.
you flushing before you sit down or are you just happy with the water that's been sitting in the bowl and you're just like you're going you don't want clean water or you're just ready to go.
Why would you flush before anything is in the toilet?
So my thought, and this
In a
stems
public
from
bathroom, yes, I will say
something I
public
saw. I
bathroom
don't even know.
100% of the time.
Okay. Oh, for sure. And and I'm making the toilet. I'm making the little seat with the toilet paper. Like I'm
No, I
100%
don't
like.
do that. I'm a fucking barbarian.
Oh, you are a barbarian then. No way. I am putting like 20 sheets of toilet paper on that ring before I sit down anywhere public. Or I'm doing the hover.
That's insane. Okay,
But
so what were you saying?
okay, so this is from something I saw when I was a kid, and I don't even know if this is real or not, but the reason I want to flush more so than the like clean water that could potentially be splashing my bottom is if there could potentially be like a spider or something in there like that I need to just flush down. That's just like something that's chilling under the seat and it's just gonna like attack me while I'm sitting there. Like it's more of like a all right, like this is safe for me to go do my business.
That just sounds like a fear. Like you're just afraid.
Well, it's definitely a fear, but
Okay, so I was in a discussion with someone, not my wife, a different someone, and we were talking about our bidets because
not my
the
wife.
bidet is fucking incredible, and if you don't have one, you should get one. This psycho will sit on the bidet and turn the water on his butt before he poops, and then goes to the bathroom and then does the water again. Why is he lubing his ass
Well,
with
yeah,
water?
yeah, that's
I
what it
don't
is.
get
He's
it.
lubing it up. I think that's
I
kind of
don't
smart.
I don't know. That like I was like, what are you doing? Like why? It's just I don't know. But yeah, that's my bathroom story. But that was what a weird way to end the podcast. I love it.
Yeah, so there we go. That's going to be the random thought of the week. So if you are between shows here, if you have any random thoughts that pop up, then mark them down,
For
and
sure.
that'll be what we have next week. I'll keep track of mine. But other than that, we will see you guys on the next episode. We'll look to do a couple more divisional breakdowns as we get nearer to the puck drop on the 2025-2026 NHL season. We are 42 days away from the recording of this podcast, so we're drawing closer every day. If you don't already follow us on our social media platforms, and make sure that you subscribe and follow the show if you don't already, so and you're alerted when we drop a new show. And that'll be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, review, tell your friends and family, and follow us on X as well. Ryan Ryan has his handle on there, and the show is at Sabres Spotlight. All that stuff is in the show notes. If you have any questions for the show or feedback, send it to our Gmail account. This is all linked in the show notes. But that is going to put a wrap on today's episode. And we will see everybody in the next show. As always, stay safe in the Sabrehood, and we will see you next time. Later.
See ya.